Football has often been shaped by famous brothers, players whose shared legacy, ambition, and sibling rivalry have created unforgettable stories and made history in the process. And now with the Bellingham brothers making headlines in the modern game, they're just the latest in a long tradition that stretches back decades. Welcome to Pixel Football, where today we're looking at some of football's most famous brothers, some with journeys that mirror each other, whilst others where one brother's story overshadows the other. So let's start with a set of brothers who've had their fair share of criticism, both as players and after retiring. Gary and Phil Neville both managed to have highly successful careers, both domestically and for England. Both mainly fullbacks, the Nevilles were part of the famous class of '92 that broke through for Man United and helped the club dominate English football for almost 20 years. Gary is one of the most decorated English players of all time, having won 20 major trophies, including 8 Premier Leagues and 2 Champions Leagues. Internationally, he represented England at 3 Euros and 2 World Cups, winning 85 caps to become a mainstay in the so-called Golden Generation. He's often referred to as the best right-back in Premier League history. Phil was more understated than his older brother. He was also more versatile, appearing in both fullback positions and in midfield. He spent 10 years in the first team at Old Trafford, winning the league 6 times before an 8-year spell at Everton. Despite playing a highly respectable 59 times for England, Phil was often thought as a bit of a liability by English fans. Who can forget Euro 2000, where his mistimed tackle saw him give away a penalty that saw England eliminated by Romania. Despite reservations about Phil internationally, he did make over 500 Premier League appearances over an 18-year period. After retiring, the pair briefly came back together at Valencia, where Gary had an ill-fated spell as manager, with Phil as his assistant. After a torrid time, including a 7-0 thumping by Barcelona, the pair was sacked by the club. Gary, of course, went on to become a leading pundit, whereas Phil had spells as head coach of the England women's national team, as well as managing in the MLS. So from one set of brothers who started out in the red half of Manchester, let's switch to a pair who became synonymous with the blue half, and that's Kolo and Yaya Toure. Not many brothers have an entire song about them. Yet not many brothers have achieved the cult status of the Toures. Kolo was the first to make his mark, signing for Arsenal in 2002 for a measly £150,000. He quickly established himself in the first team and became a key component of the Gunners' invincible side that went unbeaten in the league in the 2003-04 season. Over the next 5 years, he was a mainstay of an Arsenal side that won the FA Cup twice and reached the Champions League final in 2006. Kolo then joined Manchester City for £14 million in 2009 and was joined by his younger brother Yaya the following summer. Before arriving at City, Yaya had already been part of the great Barcelona side that won 6 trophies in the 08-09 season, including the Champions League. Like his brother, he was a versatile player, but made a name for himself as a dominant central midfielder with an eye for goal. He went on to establish himself as one of the best players in Man City's history, winning the league 3 times and scoring the winner in the 2011 FA Cup final. The Toure brothers also spearheaded the Ivory Coast national side for a generation, both winning over a century of caps, with the undoubted highlight being an African Cup of Nations triumph in 2015. Now for perhaps the most underrated pair of brothers on this list. The Laudrups were easy on the eye players who lit up European football during the 80s and 90s. Michael, the eldest by 5 years, is considered to be one of the best midfielders of his generation and is one of a few players to have played for both Barcelona and Real Madrid. In fact, he won a remarkable 5 consecutive La Liga titles between 91 and 95, and he also won the European Cup for Barca in 1992. Internationally, he won over 100 caps for Denmark and starred for them at Euros 84 and 88, as well as the World Cup in Mexico in 1986, during that famous Danish Dynamite team. However, he was absent for Denmark's remarkable Euro 92 triumph after falling out with the coach, Roger Moller Nielsen. such a shame that arguably Denmark's greatest ever player missed the nation's greatest ever footballing moment. His younger brother Brian is probably best remembered for his time with Glasgow Rangers, during which time he won 3 league titles. He also played for giant clubs like Bayern Munich, AC Milan and latterly Chelsea. However, his career was often blighted by injuries and sometimes unable to show his undoubted talents over a sustained period. Despite also falling out with Denmark's head coach and initially retiring from international football, Brian, unlike Michael, changed his mind in time to be a key component of Denmark's victory in 1992. Now returning to the Premier League and to a pair of brothers who were both centre-backs in Rio and Anton Ferdinand. They were both products of the West Ham Academy and both had spells at QPR. However, in terms of their playing careers, that's where the similarity ends. Rio will go down as one of the best defenders in Premier League history, whilst Anton will likely be remembered as Rio's brother. Older brother Rio was marked out for stardom at an early age and was even drafted into England training during the time of Euro 96, despite being only 17 years old and only having made 1 senior appearance. He quickly broke through the ranks at West Ham and made such an impression that Leeds United made him the world's most expensive defender when they signed him for £18 million in the year 2000. He was part of the young, exciting squad that got Leeds all the way to the Champions League semi-finals, and Ferdinand was quickly on the radar of even bigger clubs, especially as Leeds' catastrophic financial situation unravelled. Sir Alex Ferguson paid over £29 million to take him to Old Trafford to add to his all-conquering Man United team. And he never looked back, winning 6 Premier League titles and the Champions League, as well as being named in the Premier League Team of the Season 6 times. He also played 81 times for England and was named in 4 World Cup squads. Anton Ferdinand had a respectable career in the Premier League, but never truly escaped from Rio's shadow. His best moments came in a West Ham shirt, most notably in the 2005-2006 season when he helped the club get to an FA Cup final, despite missing the decisive penalty that handed the trophy to Liverpool. His career was sometimes overshadowed by controversies, some of his own making, others very much of others' making. Most famously, when John Terry was accused of making a racist comment towards Anton, which resulted in a high-profile court case. This was made all the more awkward for the Ferdinand family, as Terry was a teammate of Rio's in the England team. In the 2010s, Anton went on to have moderate success with Sunderland and QPR, before drifting down the leagues and finishing his career in Scotland playing for St Mirren. Switching now to Italian football, the Inzaghi brothers both played as strikers in Serie A during the 90s and throughout the 2000s. Filippo, or Pippo as he was affectionately known, had by far the greatest success in their playing days. Pippo Inzaghi, a player Sir Alex Ferguson once stated was probably born offside, lived on the shoulders of defenders, poaching chances and scoring bucket loads of goals for Juventus and AC Milan. This led him to win 3 Serie A titles, as well as 2 Champions Leagues. He was also a threat at international level, scoring 25 times in 57 appearances for Italy in a decade-long career that saw him part of the squad that won the 2006 World Cup. Younger brother Simone played in a similar style to Pippo, but with much less success, often used more as a squad player than a regular starter. However, he still managed to win the Serie A title with Lazio. His career was interspersed with loan moves, but despite this, he still made 3 appearances for Italy. After retiring from playing, both players have forged careers as coaches, and this time it's Simone that's overshadowed Pippo. Whereas the elder Inzaghi has largely been in charge of teams seeking promotion from Serie B, Simone has guided clubs like Lazio and Inter Milan to trophies, even reaching the Champions League final twice in 3 years with Inter Milan. So from Italy, we now move to Belgium, and one of the mainstays of Belgium's golden generation. Eden Hazard is best known for his time at Chelsea, during which he won 2 Premier League titles, as well as the FA Cup, League Cup and Europa League. He also won countless individual awards, as he established himself as undoubtedly one of the best wingers in world football. Unfortunately for him, his career nosedived once he left Stamford Bridge for Real Madrid, as injuries took their toll and he eventually retired retired in 2023. Younger brother Thorgan has spent most of his football life in Eden's shadow, yet he's had an impressive career in his own right, playing for likes of Borussia Mönchengladbach and Borussia Dortmund. He's also made over half a century of appearances for the Belgium national team, where he's often featured alongside his older brother. Now to the first set of Dutch brothers, starting with the De Boers. These identical twins never hogged the spotlight, but could always be relied upon at club and international level. Ronald, the more attacking of the two, was a right-sided midfielder, whereas Frank was a reliable defender. Their careers often mirrored each other, both breaking through at Ajax in the 80s, both played for Barcelona, and both had a spell at Glasgow Rangers. Of the two, I think it's fair to say that Frank had the better international career, with almost twice as many caps as Ronald, but in terms of club-level success, I would say that it's fairly even. They were both part of the dominant Ajax side of the 90s that won 5 Eredivisie titles, as well as the UEFA Cup in 1992 and the Champions League in 1995. However, the twins fell out with the Ajax hierarchy and were sold to Barcelona in January 1999 for a joint fee of £22 million. Their time at the Camp Nou was mixed, with Ronald leaving after just one season to join Rangers, with Frank following him to Glasgow via Galatasaray a few years later. However, in 2004, they both swapped Scotland for Qatar as they both wound down their careers. Another set of Dutch brothers, not so well known as some of the other sets of brothers on this list, are the Koemans. Erwin, the eldest of the two, was an all-action midfielder who saw success playing for PSV in his homeland and in Belgium. In total, he won 3 league titles across 2 respective leagues, as well as the 1988 European Cup Winners' Cup. His better-known and younger brother, Ronald Koeman, had an esteemed career as one of football's best ever goal-scoring centre-backs, finding the net over 200 times, a staggering number for a centre-back. After winning 4 Eredivisie titles with Ajax and PSV, he gained greater success and fame when he moved to Johan Cruyff's Barcelona side in 1989. During his time in Spain, he was part of a team that won 4 consecutive La Liga titles, as well as the 1992 European Cup. In fact, it was Ronald himself who scored the winner in that final of that competition, firing in a trademark free kick from outside the box. Internationally, the brothers were part of the legendary Netherlands side that won the European Championships in 1988. After they retired from playing, they reunited, this time in the dugout, as Ronald managed Southampton, Everton and the Netherlands national team, and employed Erwin as one of his assistants. Such is their standing in Dutch football, a statue of the Koeman brothers, as well as their dad Martin, himself an ex-Netherlands international, was unveiled at the home stadium of FC Groningen in 2021. Another set of brothers that form part of a footballing dynasty are Sean and Bradley Wright-Phillips. Older brother Sean was adopted by Arsenal great Ian Wright at the age of 3, and the pacey winger started his career at Manchester City, making his debut there as a teenager before joining Chelsea. He was an invaluable member of the squad that won the league in 2006 and the FA Cup the following year. He was also capped 36 times for England, beating his dad's tally of 33. Sean also had a spell playing in America, where his younger brother Bradley found great success, where he became just the 11th MLS player to score 100 goals and currently holds the New York Red Bulls record for most goals scored. Now to the least heralded set of brothers on this list. The Wallaces nevertheless deserve a mention on a list like this due to the fact that in 1988 all 3 played for Southampton in their match against Sheffield Wednesday. In doing so, they became the first set of 3 brothers to appear together in a top-flight English game for 68 years. Elder brother Danny was a dynamic winger who broke through at Southampton in 1980 at the age of just 16 and 313 days. He held the record for the youngest ever debutant for the Saints for 25 years until it was broken by Theo Walcott. Wallace quickly became a fan's favourite at the Dell with his combination of flair and explosiveness. In the 83-84 season, Southampton briefly threatened a remarkable league and cup double, emerging from the pack to challenge the all-conquering Liverpool side of that era. With Wallace causing havoc for defences all up and down the country, Southampton eventually finished second and were knocked out of the semi-finals of the FA Cup by eventual winners Everton. Danny continued that form over the next few seasons, including scoring on his England debut in 1986, yet strangely this was his only international cap. In 1989 he made the move to Manchester United, but his time at Old Trafford saw his form decline as the emergence of Lee Sharp and latterly Ryan Giggs saw his opportunities on the left wing limited. The latter period of his career saw him dogged by injuries and a serious loss of form, which later emerged was because of early symptoms of multiple sclerosis, which he was diagnosed with in 1996. Since then, he's devoted himself to raising money and awareness about the condition. Like big brother Danny, twins Rod and Ray broke through at Southampton. Rod was a quick, clever striker and Ray a right back. They both left the Dell in 1991 and moved to Ellen Road to join Leeds United. However, whilst Rod established himself as a key starter for the team that would go on to win the league championship in the 91-92 season, Ray struggled to break through and was loaned out to the likes of Swansea and Reading. He was eventually sold to Stoke City in 1994, where he had the most successful period of his career, making over 200 league appearances with them. Meanwhile, Rod scored goals for Leeds United on a regular basis and even won the Goal of the Season award in the 93-94 season, something that Danny had done whilst playing for Southampton during their great season in 83-84. They remain the only brothers to have both won that award. And finally, we have the Charltons, possibly the most famous set of brothers in footballing history, largely due to them both being part of the England team that won the World Cup in 1966. Bobby is considered one of the best English attacking midfielders of all time and a Man United legend. He scored a remarkable 49 international goals and won 3 league titles, plus the European Cup with United. His standing in the game was cemented when he won the Ballon d'Or in 1966 after England's triumph. Despite not having the same success at club level as Bobby, Jack still managed to win the league title and FA Cup with Leeds United. However, he's also known for a 10-year stint as manager of the Republic of Ireland between 1986 and 1996, where Charlton turned them into a force, leading them to a quarter-final at the World Cup in 1990, as well as respectable showings at Euro 88 and the World Cup in 1994, making him a legend on both sides of the Irish Sea. So there's a selection of footballing brothers who have graced the game. You can really help the channel by giving this video a like and subscribing. And if you want to keep it in the family, why not watch this video where we look at famous footballing father and sons.